Today we're talking about one of the biggest cult classic 2000s television shows from Cartoon Network, one of the biggest celebrity cartoons of all time, and one of the biggest animation myths that exists. This is Class of 3000. In my decade of reviewing, I've had this habit where I say that I want to talk about this show or that show, and I end up letting it get away from me for far too long. There are plenty of shows that are long overdue to get the respect that they are due. It's finally time to take some of those things off the back burner, and there's probably no better choice than this little show. Back when I originally wanted to do this review like 5 years ago, celebrity cartoons had a terrible reputation. I talked about a few of them in my worst cartoons of the decade lists. Or if you want to go really far back, the 70s marathon. From the Osmonds to Chuck Norris to MC Hammer to Ellen DeGeneres. However, these days we actually got a few examples of celebrity tunes that were at least decent, if not really good. Mike Tyson Mysteries, Milo Murphy's Law, and Jackie Chan Adventures are all pretty good. However, to this day, I don't think that any celebrity-based cartoon has the kind of fan base that Andre Benjamin's Class of 3000 does today. However, there is quite a bit of a mystery with this show. It aired with a splash. It had a lot of advertising backing it, and it even made it to a second season, but then it was over. And when it was over, it was gone. As far as I can tell, the last few episodes of Season 2 didn't even air in the United States, and reruns were gone almost instantly after that. Randomly in 2008, right out of nowhere, it seemed like Cartoon Network wanted nothing to do with the show anymore. They aired the Christmas special in December, and then I recall it never being seen on the network ever again. Before we go into what happened, let's talk about what we got. Class of 3000 was the brainchild of Andre 3000, best known for being one of the two members of Outkast, most known for the hip-hop hits Miss Jackson and Hey Ya, back in the early 2000s, and Andre's fingerprints are all over the show. Not only was he an executive producer, he wrote every single song. That's one per episode, and he even voiced one of the main characters. He plays Sonny Bridges, one of the biggest celebrity musicians in the world, who got fed up with the show business and decided to return to his home city of Atlanta, Georgia, where he gets talked into being the music teacher for a local performing arts school, Wesley. And from just that description alone, it sounds like it's going to be the most ego-pandering thing in the world. A musician portrays himself as the biggest thing ever, all the while he's cool and down to earth, a very good mentor, and has amazing understanding of music. And I suppose some people probably would see the show as a little bit egocentric. However, for the show's fans, me included, there's something about Class of 3000 that excuses that. And I think it's because the show manages to walk a fine balance. Sonny's wealth and celebrity status, when they do come up, it's usually portrayed as so over the top that it never comes across as bragging. One episode he offhandedly mentions that you can see his shoe closet from space. In another episode, he transplants a Tibetan mountain into his own backyard. It's hard to take it seriously as bragging. Another major thing that helps with this? Sonny himself is the butt of a lot of jokes. He's not immune to any of the slapstick or shenanigans that happen in the show. It's fully willing to knock him down a peg, get him into a mess, or just wallop him. Sonny is shown as a very wise character. He's the cool teacher, the one the kids come to when they have some kind of problem. And he tends to dish out the advice that the kids need, whether or not they choose to take it in the end. He is incredibly knowledgeable about music and is able to make it sound interesting to the kids. All in all, the show portrays him as pretty cool and down to earth. I think the season 1 finale is the best showcase of what kind of character Sonny is, and how well they pull off this balancing act. It starts off with the kids being captured by a supervillain. Sonny manages to save them, not by turning into a superhero with magical shoes, but by doing something ridiculous like playing jacks. However, the rest of the episode has Sonny dealing with the pressure of trying to live up to his mentor, who he believes abandoned him. It's a very human and relatable story. Honestly, to me, this show never feels like an ego trip at any point. Sonny does make himself appear to be a very competent music teacher, but you could see that the show is made from a place of putting the passion of music towards a younger audience. The show isn't saying Sonny Bridges or Andre 3000 is great. It's saying that the music is great, and that's in more than just the songs. Almost every episode does have accurate information about music. Understanding the nature of blues, circular breathing, finding the rhythm in the world around you. It can be quite educational at times. The balancing act that they do at Sonny applies to the titular Class of 3000 as well. Andre said that he wanted to focus on a very diverse cast, which was fairly forward-thinking for 2006. And as such, we've got characters from all walks of life, and many of them walk a similar tightrope. We have a cast of 7 here, which is actually larger than average. Many of these characters have archetypes that we've seen fail over and over again. For example, Madison is the quirky, kooky idiot of the cast. In most cartoons, these are the characters who cause like 2/3 of the problems. They're always making a mess and are never able to take care of themselves. And while I can't say that Madison never causes any problems, she does it about as much as any of the other kids. And as a result, her non sequiturs tend to be the best lines in the entire show.
My life ain't got no meaning now.
That's okay. Your life had no meaning before.
All of the characters break some kind of stereotypes. Eddie, the rich kid, isn't a jackass. Little D might be selfish and scheming, but he genuinely seems to want to improve in most of his appearances. And then you have Kim and Cam, which not only do not act identically, they don't act like polar opposites either. Cam is orderly and straight-laced, while Kim is into fashion and all things popular. This is an amazing rarity for identical twins, or half-identical twins in animation. So many of these character types are so easy to fuck up, but I like every character on this show. The show and its writers have such a good understanding of how to make each of these traits work, and that should be expected. Several of the writers on the show went on to be writers of Friendship is Magic. No, I'm not kidding. In terms of a pure comedy show, this is probably one of my favorites ever. Like, if this show came out just a few years later, it might have dominated meme culture in its short airing. Class of 3000 has such a unique, surreal style of humor. My favorite joke in the entire series is from the episode Devil and Little D. When Madison is watching a puppet show, she goes behind it and screams. What is she screaming at? The puppets are actually real full-bodied creatures. Brother from the Third Rock just has constant Men in Black and G-Men jokes all the way through. In Am I Blue, when the group gets famous, Cheddar Man has everyone swap their roles, which is as ludicrous as it sounds. But not as ludicrous as bringing in the literal Kool-Aid Man in the first episode of Season 2.
Oh no!
Every single episode has so many standout jokes. Constant hit after constant hit. And despite being so fed up with meta humor, I love it when the show gets meta.
Cam, you remember them girls that turned themselves blue to look like us?
Hey, what's cooler than cool ice cold water?
It doesn't happen often, but it gets me every time that it does.
Andre Benjamin called.
That's for me!
However, what Class of 3000 is most known for is its songs. And I have to be honest, the songs are a little bit hit and miss. Some songs are, as Principal Luna would put it, fantastic. Throwdown got all of the love since it appeared in all of the advertising, but many others are just as strong. Richer Shade of Blue, We Only Want Your Soul, Cool Kitty. They even made a jazz song that I actually don't hate in My Mentor. That is incredibly hard to do. However, I think that my favorite song of all of them has got to be the Class of 3000 theme song. Not the one that you hear at the start of the show, the 4-minute version called Main Version. I don't recall it ever playing in any episode because, as I just said, it's 4 goddamn minutes, but it is masterful. It starts with a typical theme song, but throughout these 4 minutes, it goes through so many different vibes and tones. It's just delightful. You've got to hear it.
Let the music do all the talking.
The radio people don't play songs without words anymore.
Yeah, I know. But don't you worry about that.
At least some of it. These songs are tagged by copyright, so I can't go too deeply into them. But I'll say it as simply as I can. I've been planning on making a version of my top 20 best theme songs that isn't blocked by copyright, but if this ain't the best cartoon theme song that I've ever heard, I don't know what is. I love every part of this. However, unfortunately, not every song on the show is of that quality. Philly Phil Come Home was my favorite song ever when I first watched this. Then I noticed that the kick in the background never, ever stops.
Both sides of the brain can do a special thing, but put them together, the yin and the yang.
Quite a few of the songs end up getting very repetitive.
Everybody do the crayon, crayon. Everybody do the crayon.
Imagine that repeating for a full minute.
Purple or yellow or red.
And as the series went on, we got more completely instrumental songs, which never really hit the same vibe as the lyrical songs. And then you have the Kim Cam Jam, which is the worst abomination that I've ever heard in the realm of music.
Oh, yeah! Yeah!
What even is this? Grunting over a keyboard. Beautiful. Each of the music videos also has a separate art style, which is a nice touch. It's usually nice to see a lot of different visual styles, and almost all of them are impressive, except for the one where they use Synchrovox for some reason. Why do you want to inflict me with nightmares? With some exceptions, the Season 1 songs are better than the Season 2 songs. I'm sorry to say. That's probably why the Season 2 CD was never made. You can kind of feel Andre 3000 getting a little bit burnt out if you listen to all of the songs back to back, which is actually one of the reasons that the show ended. So now we have to talk about like one of the most persistent myths in animation. This is like some pigeon man jumping off the roof kind of thing. The common sentiment on the internet is that this show was shelved because of a lawsuit. The story goes that someone named Timothy McGee pitched a show to Cartoon Network in the 90s called The Music Factory. I have heard this so much, despite it not being true. I mean, Timothy McGee did sue Cartoon Network because of this, but the lawsuit was dismissed for a variety of reasons. But after this, whenever Class of 3000 came up, this would be inevitably where the discussion went, even though the lawsuit happened after production of the show ended. I mean, I know why people think this. It makes sense on some level. After Class of 3000 was done airing, it vanished really quickly. One day, new episodes stopped airing without warning. And then reruns stopped not long after that too. And it was even gone from the website, despite older shows still being on the website. The logical answer does seem to be that it was dropped because Cartoon Network got sued. However, people actually behind the production revealed that it was a much simpler explanation. Budget. The show cost too much to make, relative to what it was bringing in. And that wasn't helped by Andre 3000 struggling to get songs submitted on time. He still had a music career, which was probably priority. There was probably a lot putting pressure on Class of 3000 as it got into its second season. This show lasted until 2008, and at that time, Cartoon Network was doing, let's call it restructuring. As far as I'm aware, Class of 3000 is the newest cartoon that was ever a part of CN City, with its throwdown bumper. And not long after that, we got the network dedicating more and more time to live action. That's where Cartoon Network wanted to go in the future, so a cartoon like Class of 3000 was to be relegated to the past. If that wasn't enough though, one of their competitors, Disney, had this big new hit on their hands.
Bow, chicka, bow, wow. That's what my baby says. Mow, mow, mow. And my heart starts pumping.
I'm not saying that these shows are anything close to each other, but Phineas and Ferb probably took away a lot of the majesty that Class of 3000 had for having one unique song per episode. That's what Class of 3000 was known for, and here comes Phineas and Ferb doing that exact same thing, and being a lot more popular. This show was up against a lot, but in the end, its biggest crime was poor timing. In its 3-year run, it got 2 seasons, consisting of 28 episodes total. It deserves so much better. Those 28 episodes are some of the funniest, most consistent 28 episodes I've ever seen. Going through all of them, I can't think of a single dud. Sure, not every single song is the greatest thing ever,
Purple or yellow.
but honestly, everything around the songs is what this show should be known for. It has likable characters, a passion for music, great humor, and a central celebrity that not just doesn't detract, but actually makes the show what it is. Class of 3000 is truly one of the underrated gems of the 2000s, and it really needs more love than it gets.